Welcome back to my channel. We're going to be talking about Jon Jones vs Ciryl Gane coming up this Saturday, March 4th, UFC 285. So what this video is, we're going to be talking about how does Jon Jones possibly lose this fight? And I'm probably going to title the video something along those lines. Here we go. What I think the only way Jon Jones... First of all, real quick, please subscribe to the channel, guys. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs, and I'm trying to post a few times a week, at least, some shorts, some regular YouTube videos, so please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. So, here's how Jon Jones possibly loses this fight. We all know Ciryl Gane. He's most of the time, he's the best on his feet, right? He's basically a kickboxer. He's got great movement for being 245 pounds and 6'4". He's going to be 32, I believe, for this fight, and Jon Jones will be 35. And we know Ciryl Gane is excellent on his feet. He's got great boxing, and he kicks well, he moves well. Where he doesn't do very well is on the ground. And we know Jon Jones is probably one of the most well-rounded fighters in MMA. Many people claim him to be the GOAT of MMA, and I'm not too far off from that. There's a few other people that are in the running. But I think Jon Jones has a few more fights to really cement that in the books, in my opinion. All of this, of course, is in my opinion, which is why I have a YouTube channel. I get to have my own opinion. So that's how he loses, is if he tries to play Ciryl Gane's game, and he tries to box and he tries to kick with Ciryl Gane, which we know that Jon Jones loves to do that. He loves to go into these fights and prove everybody wrong by doing what his opponents are good at. And if he does that with Ciryl Gane, I know he's been able to do it in most of his fights in the past. There's a few fights that were pretty close, and a lot of people would agree with that, to say he might have lost one or two of those. They were really close. And I'm going to get into that, but if he tries to play Ciryl Gane's game on the feet, he may lose. Here's how I see it going. First round, Jon Jones is going to do what he always has. He will stand with Ciryl Gane, and it'll be back and forth. It'll be a lot of point stuff. I think they're both going to be cautious at first. I don't know if I see real big punches coming from either man. Maybe from Ciryl Gane, because he knows that he's got to get Jon Jones out of there if he wants to beat him. Because he knows Jones is going to take him to the ground. So if Gane wants to win in the first, maybe second 3 rounds at most, because we know Gane will get tired, and that's one thing we don't know about Jones, is how's his cardio going to be, being 40-50 pounds heavier? Do we think Jon Jones is going to have the same cardio and work ethic as he had before at 205? I don't know. But what we do know is he's been training for 3 years, preparing for this move up to heavyweight. And he's been putting on the muscle. He's been putting in the training 2 to 3 times a day, 5 days a week, with these other heavyweights. And we don't know if he's coming back the way he used to be, or if this is a completely new Jon Jones. First round is going to be kickboxing between the two. I think this fight is going to have a lot of outside calf kicks, just because they're wanting to find their range, they're wanting to get those points, and they're trying to cause damage to the other person. And I think Jones is going to incorporate this, because you got to remember, he's been out for 3 years. The outside calf kick wasn't as prominent as it is now, 3 years later, and I think he's going to try to incorporate that to slow Gane's movement. I think there's going to be a lot of it going on in this fight. So round 2 is when I think they're going to start the beginning of the round again, doing a lot of kickboxing stuff, and Gane is going to start getting comfortable, and he's going to think, okay, Jones is going to be trying to beat me here. Jones is going to be trying to beat me at my game, and that's when Jones is going to come in, try to shoot for a takedown, take it to the ground, pretty much do whatever he wants from that point on, right? So if Jones does happen to get hurt, he gets touched from Gane, I think he immediately goes to the ground. That's kind of obvious. That's what everybody does, right? That's what you should do. So let's look back at Jones's last fight, right? 3 years ago. And we're just going to do his last fight, because I think there's some really interesting information that we can pull out of the stats for that fight. they kind of show us where Jones was when he left. And so his last fight 3 years ago was it was against Dominic Reyes. John Jones' last fight was UFC 247. It was the light heavyweight title, right? John Jones Bones versus the Devastator Dominic Reyes. And this was on February 8th of 2020. Right? We all remember that year. So, here's some of these stats that I thought was interesting. Significant strikes. Jones had 104 landed of 166, which is 62% accuracy. And Dominic Reyes he landed 116 of 259, which is a 44% accuracy rate. Jones had 2 out of 9 takedowns, and Reyes had 0. Leg, right? So strikes landed on the leg. Jones had 43 of 53, which is excellent ratio. I believe it's around an 85% to 90% ratio. And Reyes threw 27, landed 27 of 35. Jones had a minute 41 of control time. Jones's body shots 30 of 39. Pretty good percentage there. Reyes landed 48 of 55 in the body. And then their head strikes, Jones had 31 of 74, and Reyes had 41 of 169. So Reyes threw way more significant strike attempts, and his percentage was about 20% less. So we know Jones is accurate. He's precise. He's got the excellent mind for fighting. You know, that's one of the reasons people claim him as the GOAT. He's intelligent fighter. And, you know, he knows exactly where he should be and when, and, you know, where his opponent is weak, and he doesn't do the same thing over and over. He's always keeping people guessing, right? And that's why Jones is who he is. Some of the things I wrote down here was Jones actually won by a decision, right? A unanimous decision at the end of the 5th round there. And as soon as he did that, the crowd was booing. So, I mean, that was one of the first signs. Obviously, if you watched the fight, you were also really considering who won this battle, right? Who won it between Reyes and Jones. And I'll admit, 3 years ago was pretty close. I had been only watching UFC fighting for maybe a year or two at that point, and I thought Reyes had it. I thought, you know, this is the first time Jones lost. Like, I thought at the end of the 5 rounds, I thought Reyes is going to get his hand raised. This is amazing. Like, Jones finally lost. And he didn't. And that was a huge, huge controversy for a long time, you know, until the next big thing comes along in the UFC. That's how stuff works in the news, right? So, yeah, Reyes felt disrespected by the 49-46 scorecard. And, you know, that's understandable. He put up a great fight, and he also said that I made John Jones look like just a man. And that was important because up until that point, John Jones, he did have a couple close fights with Thiago Santos, I think it is, and also the one right before that. It was he fought the guy twice, Gustafsson. Had some close fights there as well. The first one was close. The second one, I think John's kind of, you know, put him in his place and beat him pretty well there. It was the first time in 22 fights that Jones was actually outstruck. You know, these are the kind of stats and things that I wrote down because it's like this was all pointing to something at the end of that run for John Jones. He's admitted he was beating these guys, and he was just not as interested. He wasn't as motivated and driven to, you know, stay training and stay active and stay hungry. He had beaten how many guys, how many title defenses over and over. And, you know, it gets to the point, you know, you can relate to this, that when you do something over and over and you're at the top, you know, sometimes it just, the wow factor wears off, right? And this can relate to anything in our lives. And sometimes it can be, you know, buying stuff, or it can be, you know, if you played high school sports, or if you're really good at what you do at work, right? being at the top of your game is great, but after a while, you stay on the top, and it just kind of becomes the norm, and it's not as fun. It's not as interesting as when you're working your way up, and you're continually working towards the next thing, and when you run out of those things to achieve, you lose that drive, you lose that confidence in knowing that you're the best and you're getting to the next step, the next run. Jones also, by winning this, he pushed past Georges St. Pierre for most title bouts and UFC unbeaten streak. So those were two other stats that he had, right? And he also tied Demetrius Johnson for most UFC title defenses at 11. And so we had Reyes coming into that fight. He was a plus 375 underdog, and he was ranked number 4. He wasn't expected to beat Jon Jones, or even really. I mean, he's a contender, but he's not really expected to beat Jon Jones. We didn't really think he was going to, but he came in super confident, and he impressed everybody. And he thought he won, and a lot of people thought he won. I thought he won, 3 years ago. And what I was saying earlier is I actually watched this fight back for the first time in probably 3 years. And as I watched it, I could see, now that I've been watching UFC longer, I could see that Jon Jones won that fight. And yes, it was close. And Reyes had landed a lot of the harder strikes, and he looked like he was hitting harder and, more movement. But Jones does what he does. He's consistent, and he won the fight. It was the correct decision, in my opinion. So now we're going to look at Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane, some of their significant stats, right? So leading up to this fight, where are they at in their careers on stats? So let's look at this. So significant strikes per minute landed. Jon Jones 4.3, Ciryl Gane 5.1. Significant strike accuracy 57% for Jones, 59% for Ciryl Gane. Significant strikes absorbed 2.22 for Jon Jones and 2.25 for Ciryl Gane. Significant strike defense 64% for Jones, 62% for Gane. And so just in the striking, you can see that they're, other than the strikes landed per minute, they're almost identical on their striking offense and defense. So that's interesting. And like I was saying, if they're on their feet, that's where Ciryl Gane could beat Jon Jones. And Jon Jones, he's a smart guy. I don't think he's going to stay there. Honestly. So then it comes down to takedown, right? Takedown stuff. So takedown average, Jones is 1.85, Ciryl Gane's 0.52, right? There's a difference there. Takedown accuracy, 44% for Jones, 21% for Gane. Takedown defense, 95% for Jones and 55% for Gane. So this tells you, every fight can be different, but just looking at their overall career stats here, Jon Jones is probably not going to get taken down. We know he takes down people more often than Gane, and Gane has a worse takedown defense, so whenever Jones decides he's ready to take the fight to the ground, he will. And I think it will happen in the fight, and I am predicting second round. I'm going to recap this, if Jones tries to fight the entire fight on his feet only, he may lose. I don't think he's going to lose the fight, though. Honestly, I think he's going to play the game for a little bit in round 1 and maybe fake a few takedowns in the first round, and then round 2 is when they're going to start on their feet again. Jones comes in, he's going to take him down, and he's going to do whatever he wants with Gane. That's what I think. I don't think Gane has put in the time, the work like Jones has. Jones has been preparing for 3 years. He's been preparing for Francis Ngannou, and he's been preparing for Stipe Miocic. So he's well prepared for any type of fighter. And I think he's going to walk right through Gane unless he tries to strike with him. So that's my prediction for the fight. I tried to give you guys some interesting stats that you may not have looked up or seen in other videos. Let me know what you think in the comments below about these stats, and who do you think will win this fight coming up this Saturday? Are you going to be watching? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, do whatever you want, but thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.